we got ourselves another video from Mr. ANINEWS. This is called What is Tower of God and Why is it so hype? Y'all already know what's hype, but let's check it out.
If you're someone who keeps up with seasonal anime, I'm sure you've noticed an odd-looking new fantasy series that's taking spring 2020 by storm.
Or summer 2024.
A show that goes by the name of Tower of God. This isn't your typical run-of-the-mill manga or light novel adaptation.
Oh! Kaguya-sama, Love is War, trash indeed. Confirmed by Mr. ANINEWS. Not my words. He's calling it trash. No, he didn't.
For some of you, you may have never even heard of Tower of God at all. So why is it that before this show even started airing, it was already one of the most popular of the season?
Because it's got hundreds of chapters of webtoon already built up over the years, right?
Well, the Tower of God getting an anime is actually quite a big deal. You see, this anime is a first of its kind. Not because of the story or the strange looking art style, but because the anime is based off a Korean webtoon.
Korea number one!
A digital comic, if you will. They're not quite manga and they're not quite comics either, but they are a form of media that has been steadily growing in popularity for years now.
And this is 4 years ago, and now we are in like the, not quite, but we're slowly getting into like the golden years, the golden age of anime that is like webtoon adaptations. Like with Omniscient Reader coming, Solo Leveling's already done a great job. I heard that God of High School was absolute dookie. I've heard that one. The opening is really catchy. There was a lot of hype around it, but I hear it just was complete trash. But hey, with the new ones with Soul Leveling, Omniscience Reader's Viewpoint, and like other stuff, I'm sure it's gonna get even better.
And in this media exists numerous original stories and adventures that rival even the best manga out there. One of which is Tower of God. So if a webtoon like Tower of God can be successfully adapted into an anime, then that opens up a whole new world of potential webtoon-based anime, which could possibly change the anime industry in its entirety. But before I talk,
I'm just so excited to farm the glory of webtoon animes when it comes, bro. So far, it's been doing pretty well. There was the other one. I think it was called A Returner's Magic Should Be Special. And I think it aired a season before Solo Leveling, but it didn't get enough love in that like advertisement. And I think that was a pretty big name as well, but it kind of flopped compared to some of the other highly anticipated webtoon anime adaptations.
More about why that is, I'm sure a lot of you want to know whether Tower of God is actually worth watching. I mean, I'm sure if you watched the trailers, then you probably had the same first impressions that I did. The art style is a little bit off-putting. Yes, it is
off-putting. A lot of people in season 2 are now saying that like they missed the season 1 lining and shading. It's like, oh my god, the art style for season 2 is trash. I honestly, maybe I'm just a monkey. I can't really tell the difference. It looked completely fine to me. It looked a little bit different for sure, but it was like felt like a complete studio change. For example, Data Live, right? Data Live between seasons like 3 and 4, I think they did a complete swap. And then there was High School DxD. They also did a swap between like seasons. Was it also 3 and 4, maybe 2 and 3, stuff like that, where it's like a complete change in the models and you're like, what the fuck is going on? This didn't feel like that.
Is different, but I don't think you should let that sway your decision too much. I believe the style of animation was an artistic choice by the studio to make it similar to how the
Look at Rachel on this, she looks so clear than usual, bro. Like, what the fuck is this art? Like, I can't draw better in this. I can't. Right? All I do is yap online. I can't draw, but like, come on. What the fuck is this art style? And I hear it gets better and better. So like, maybe with cut content, season 2 content from Mr. ANINEWS, we're gonna see webtoon panels with art that's actually improved compared to season 1.
Make it similar to how the webtoon is drawn. Much like how Mob Psycho 100 is styled in a way that's reminiscent of its source material. And it's not like Telecom Animation is new to making anime either. They've been responsible for many of the Lupin the Third movies and popular anime like Orange or Chain Chronicle. I think what's most important is how the story gets adapted. Because even though the initial art style of the webtoon itself was less than great, the intrigue and mystery of the setting that we find ourselves in is compelling to say the least.
I agree.
And I can say that after watching 3 episodes of the anime that the adaptation is doing fairly well to follow suit.
I don't know, because I haven't read the source material, but not a single point during the anime did I feel like something is off or I'm missing information. I feel like I was given everything I needed, and then people are also saying they still cut off so much stuff and rushed it. But I feel like, I don't know. everything that was given to me in the anime made perfect sense, and I didn't feel like I was given all the tools to work with, and everything made sense. So I think an anime adaptation did a good job, but it's like not fair for me to judge that because I don't know what's missing, right? Maybe I should read the webtoon, but I got no time for that.
Without giving away too much, Tower of God begins as a simple story revolving around a single character, 25th Bam. For all his life, Bam lived beneath what's called the Tower, our main setting. And during this time, his sole companion was a girl named Rachel. Though the two seemingly enjoyed each other's company, Rachel was unsatisfied with her way of living. She decided to enter the tower in hopes of ascending to the top and one day witness the stars.
That was a lie.
So, as Rachel disappears into the doors of the tower, Bam commits himself to finding her again. And by doing so, he forces his way into the tower. But this tower isn't just any regular building. It would be more accurate to relate it to being the world itself. It's a mysterious structure that's magical in nature, filled to the brim with numerous massive floors that host many different species of fantastical creatures.
It's never felt like a tower. Like when you think of a tower, you're thinking of a floor, you're thinking of like a ceiling and a roof, right? You have like the floor and roof and you're like in a trapped space. But like each floor in this tower feels like its own different map, like its own different zone, huge world. And like it doesn't even help that there's like artificial sky and everything, right? It just feels like every time we go into different floors, it's a whole different region of the world that we live in. But I've never felt that like we're stuck in here, you know? It feels like we're outside. But that's the crazy thing, because like what is actually outside of the tower? And these questions I probably shouldn't ask, because this is probably like super spoiler territory.
Every floor is different from the last, and the only way you can get from one floor to the next is by passing a test that is run by the floor's administrator. These tests could be anything from a simple puzzle game to an all-out battle royale.
Yeah, it's basically Tower of Tests, by the way. These tests are never gonna end. The whole story is just built on tests, and tests are basically mini games, and you do competition, and there's like a reward of you get to climb the tower or not. Stuff like that.
Really though, it all just depends on the floor master. What this means is that in order to find Rachel, Bam has to climb the tower by passing increasingly difficult tests. That's the initial driving factor, wondering what test Bam will have to face next as he climbs each floor in search of the only person he's known his entire life. But something like that could get stale fairly quickly if it was the only thing happening, which is why it's not the only captivating element of the series.
What else?
There's plenty of others that serve to expand this world of the tower and the characters within it. Every new character Bam comes across is enveloped in a certain level of mystery that makes you wonder who they are and...
Yeah, every character has felt like there's some level of depth. Even like, I love how all the different side characters, NPCs, they got like cool designs as well. Even though you know that they're not, important, like you're not gonna see them later on, at least the author gave them cool designs and stuff like that. And for the core side characters involved, they're actually like, what's it called? Everyone is like, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's like, they're part of this big family, and this family is all about this one specific thing, Everyone has their own mysteries and depth of character where it doesn't feel like they're shallow. It feels like I'm in the world building, right? The world building is so good with these side characters. Even Serena, right? Serena, I don't want to spoil again, is a very bland looking character, but then later on, she has this crazy character arc and a closure that shows like the different people that's in the tower, kind of like people who are talented and people who's not. Every character, I hate Rachel, but even Rachel, like everyone is really well written.
What they're capable of. And it's through these characters that the tower is developed. Yes, Bam is our main character, but you'd be surprised how much impact some minor-looking characters will have later on. There's a lot of intertwining stories and twists and turns that work towards making Tower of God what it is. The story is also written and progressed in a way that makes the tower feel so big, yet so small. Believe me when I say that the tower is truly a massive place.
So big but so small. Yeah, I mean, there's like what, 100 floors? We're barely like in the tutorial floors in like season 1. It's so big, but at the same time, you're right. We are just like in just one zone for the entire season. But never have I felt that we were like it's hard to explain because like the tower itself doesn't feel encapsulated. We're just like outside, but these are just regions with zones without boundaries? Is there like an edge to the tower? We've never really explored the tower, right? It'd be cool if people like try to go to the boundaries of each floor, but I just felt that there was so much freedom and every different floor is like pretty much its own different like city zones.
There's plenty of things to discover within it, and whenever we learn a bit more about the tower or one of its floors or its many inhabitants, that just makes the tower feel even bigger. But when we get to a test and we see all the participants confined to the testing area, that's when we zone back into the main events and the world becomes much.
See how I say one thing and then the chat erupts because they feel the need to correct me, but they won't say shit if I don't accidentally make a mistake? I hate every one of you.
Smaller and more focused. It's nice to have those contrasting layers. All in all though, the strong point of this series is its complex world building. Whether the anime can properly portray that or not will ultimately determine its overall success.
I think
so far, the first few episodes have been doing a fairly decent job of that. The pacing is a little bit quick, but the tone is set very nicely, especially.
And I think the soundtrack really adds to the tone. Something about Kevin Penkin's soundtrack just makes this whole show into a different experience. I genuinely believe if it was a different kind of soundtrack, it wouldn't feel the same.
Especially with the killer soundtrack by Kevin Penkin accompanying
Exactly.
it. But we're still very much in the early phases of the story. In fact, I would say that the ball has barely even begun to roll. It actually kind of reminds me of how Hunter x Hunter began. Not just because they're in pretty much their own version of the Hunter exam arc, or because
one day. Why won't you guys let me fucking watch this show? What is wrong with you? There's so much peak that we could witness together. But you monkeys just are holding me back from witnessing greatness as it exists. Just recommending me shitty ass fucking isekais over and over again. Shitty ass harem, shitty ass ecchis. And then here's this, never gets recommended. I'm stuck in hell that I created.
Arc, or because Kun reminds me of Killua, but because of the way the other characters are explored. Don't get me wrong though, by no means am I saying that this show is as good as Hunter x Hunter. All I'm saying is that
it's not? Well, I haven't seen both. Well, I've seen Tower of God, but like, can I compare it to HXH? Like everyone's hyping it up. I just assume that it's good.
Could have the potential to be. But yeah, that's pretty much the most basic breakdown of what Tower of God is. Honestly though, the less you know, the better. My recommendation to you is that if you're looking for a new type of fantasy adventure where both the characters and setting are unique in nature, then Tower of God is probably worth checking out.
Like, if you enjoy any sort of good storytelling, world building, exploration, just mysteries, I think Tower of God is like the anime for you. I think like a lot of people can enjoy this shit, right? Like, even if you're not a battle shonen head, I think that the writing in this show is deep enough where you can really enjoy the big brain things going on behind the scenes, because there is a lot of cool hype scenes, cool battles, but like there's a lot of a mind game component to this season.
So long as what I mentioned is fleshed out properly, then I'm sure many of you would actually come to enjoy it. Now, the reason I said that Tower of God's success could change the anime industry as we know it is because up until now, anime has either been an original story or adapted from manga or light novels.
Yeah, and now we have a completely separate nation coming in with this pool of genre of content, right? You got manga, light novel content, or original stories for anime so far. You got webtoons coming in from Korea, and then you got like, you know, manhwas, which like, it's like, I don't know why it's called it's so similar, right? It's like manhwa in like Korean is like with HWA. In Chinese, it's like HUA. And there's like a whole set of like cultivation anime. But I hear like those cultivation series are really poorly paced, so that it's gonna be really difficult to adapt. I'm not sure. I'm not like, I haven't really read much. I've seen random panels of those shows, but people say that it's very lengthy and kind of awkward to adapt to an anime, where a webtoon and a manga, they kind of have the similar level of pacing.
The addition of webtoons opens up a whole new library of potential anime with long-running stories that are actually quite good. And I think that Crunchyroll partnering with the webtoon platform to bring us 2 other adaptations is an early sign that webtoon-based anime is the direction we could be heading.
I think so. I mean, this is 4 years ago, and like, he's absolutely right. Like, Solo Leveling popped off this year. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint is getting prepared. There's a lot of hype building up for it. I hope it does well, man.
Especially if these series prove to be successful. That's where part of the hype comes from. Many people want Tower of God to succeed so that other webtoons just like it could get the same treatment.
I wonder if a lot of here's Solo Leveling coming out. I wonder if a lot of people are like hating on the webtoon hype though and be like, nah, we can't have Korean webtoon anime. This shit's trash.
Like, imagine Solo Leveling getting an adaptation by Ufotable. That would
not Ufotable. I think what studio did it? Was it A1 Pictures? I honestly don't even remember which studio did Solo Leveling, but like Solo Leveling anime was fantastic. It was A1 Pictures, right? They did a good enough job.
Be absolutely insane. For now though, we have Tower of God to serve as our introduction to the world of webtoon anime. Now, considering that every show I was planning to make content on for this season got delayed, I've decided that Tower of God might be an interesting one to cover.
And then he covered a bunch of stuff, and hey, if you're new here, we've covered like every Tower of God cut content. We got every episode of Tower of God. Check the playlist out. This video is obviously a little bit backwards because we've already, we're caught up to season 2, but I thought I'd just check it out because, this is also part of the playlist. There's one more video, different positions video that we'll be checking out right now, but hey, go give Mr. ANINEWS a like on the video, sub to his channel if you enjoy this type of content. I'll see you in the next one.